All right, Brevin, let's take a look at your paper. First thing, MLA format. So this looks good. All of this looks good. Typical fish story. Not the most impressive title I've ever seen. But my other main concern is that you are not in Times New Roman or what looks to be 12-point font. Now, I know you didn't do that because of space, because that would actually make your paper longer and you already got enough length, but make sure that you are following all of the guidelines that you need for this. Alright, attention getting first statement's pretty weak. They grow exaggerated and fish is no exception, which doesn't really do anything. It's jumping into the topic way too fast. Really start off with something a little bit more universal or a bit more about the theme, which you kind of get to it with this, which is fine, but you need to build on that. The oscillating tones of matter of fact. Now, here's a really easy fix to this. The matter of fact and elated tones sounds a lot better than the tones of matter of fact. So you might want to switch that around. For the specks of beauty coming from the least likely sources. I like that concept. Here's what I don't like. Number one, your thesis is not underlined. Number two, you just basically repeat yourself as your thesis statement. So what's the point of writing this and then writing this again in the thesis statement? You need to elaborate a little bit more on this. Yes, beauty comes from that. And what should we do about it? Is it something we should enjoy? Is it something that we should take time to notice because we never know when it's going to be gone? Is it something that, fill in the blank? So we really need to elaborate on that and make it a little bit longer and a little bit better there. So the first paragraph is going to be about diction. All right, so as you're looking at diction, don't ever use boring explanation. Maybe like mundane or something like that. Boring is such a negative connotation. Like, I don't know why an author would ever write boring words, because sure, they can be mundane or simple or lackluster or something like that. We should use lackluster in here, right there. But don't use boring, and use it again down here somewhere. Boring idea of the fish. I think there needs to be a much better adjective to that. All right. Got some space issues here. Make sure that you have just the correct number of spaces. Make sure that with your examples you have line numbers with them as well. I want to see the line numbers in there. Now, I wouldn't say battered and stained is boring. Now, homely is getting to the concept of, more subdued, I guess. But stained and battered is boring? I don't think so. So I don't think that really backs up what you're trying to say either. Now, it is diction, but remember, diction is the connotative meaning of it, which you're trying to get to with the boring part. So if you're going to talk about this, what is the connotative meaning of stained? What is the connotative meaning of battered? Because I don't think that really is backing up what you're trying to say. Also, make sure your punctuation is inside the quotation marks. So your commas, your periods, make sure they're inside those quotation marks. I would say that this is correct. That is true. Seems lackluster and boring. Lackluster is one word. The boring. Wow, you used it more than I thought. Relatively boring. The boring idea. Holy cow. Get rid of boring. Okay. Start the changes. Comma. However. Have the character starting to recognize the beauty of the fish. To show the appreciation, the author starts using. To show this appreciation, comma, the author starts using brighter colors towards the end. Again, you want to make sure you have line numbers for all these. So noticing green, orange, and rainbow. This is a run-on sentence. The change of colors described shows the main character's excitement. So this is an apostrophe as well. Main character's excitement and growing appreciation. To finish, comma, the word rainbow, which you're missing the end punctuation here, is repeated 3 times rapidly to show the climax of the main character's admiration. I think it needs to be more than that. You've already talked about growing appreciation. You can't just repeat this again. From homely to gorgeous, comma, the portrayal of the fish has changed greatly. Ugh, don't say changed greatly. Just say the portrayal of the fish is something, but not, again, growing admiration of the main character, repeating yourself over and over again. The increased appreciation is described by the narrator. So, that's obviously probably added one without deleting the other. as their word choice changes, as do the characteristics that the first person perspective focuses on. No period. So is that supposed to be a period? As the word choice changes, so I'm assuming that this is supposed to be a period here. Maybe not. Is described by the narrator as, I don't know what you're supposed to do. Brevan, you gotta go look at this sentence and focus on it, sorry, and fix it. I'm not sure what you're trying to do. You haven't dug deeper yet, okay? And again, that goes back to this. You're showing the beauty. It comes from least likely areas. We didn't even mention the idea of least likely in here. All you mentioned that it's boring to him, to the main character, and then it's he admires it. But how do you get to least likely yet? You haven't even got to that part, and that's not a good thesis statement. So I even want to have you dig deeper than that. All right, so let's look at your point of view. Shifts as the main character's attention focuses on a variety of subjects at the end of the poem. But why is it significant for that shift? Is it just growing admiration? Is there something more significant there? First, describing the fish in a boring manner, comma, of course we're not going to use boring again, instead of pointing out what's wrong with them, comma. So an example is this, where you don't use the in-text citation, so you got to use the line number, which I think this is a really good line to analyze, but this is more like details than point of view, because this is a straight up fact of the poem, whereas it is a certain point of view, but I think you haven't got there. An example is this: the focus of the main character is on the vibrant color. So this is a run-on sentence, so you need something here. I like this, that even the rust is viewed as vibrant and lively, which goes back to sort of focusing on the little things in life. Beauty comes from the least likely areas, which I like that concept, but you don't ever do anything with it. All you say is that it serves to show the narrator's optimistic view and his or her appreciation of her surroundings, but you don't ever dive deep into that concept. What is humanity like when they do focus on these things? What is a byproduct of focusing on these things in somebody's life? Try to figure that out. Right, which you got the capitalized I there that you don't need. Right after the above quote, comma, Bishop writes this. Remember, period goes inside there. This is finally getting into some really good word choice by you, Brevan, for your writing. So, the iridescent qualities of the pungent fluid. I love that. No comma here. So you get that, but then you're just saying what's bad sounds good. So I think there needs to be something deeper there as well. Again, a stronger thesis statement will make this stronger as well. So long sentences gushing with admiration can also show the beauty of the surrounding. So jumping a little bit into sentence structure. All right, you have some good stuff in here, Brevan. So you talk a little bit about, again, comma errors in the first part of the poem, comma. Matter of fact, which is good, and including only the bare necessity to simply describe. So you get back to the tone here. You have a good example, again, no number there, line number. So this is a prime example of this. Well, you already said this was an example, so I don't know if you need to say this right after this. It sets the attitude, and the attitude and the narrator are synonymous, which we understand that, so you don't necessarily need to say that at all. Again, we don't want to get into boring. In the end, comma, however, comma. This is a run-on sentence. At least change that punctuation to something different that allow that little end part there. And you get to the idea that the flowing sentence structure is also synonymous with the flowing admiration. But how does it change? Where's a good example of that change? Or, I don't know. I guess you use the line that goes 11 lines, which you wouldn't want to write that out. But I would still like to see a little bit more about that. If you don't give a sentence in it, it's maybe a descriptive. Like, what is that 11 line sentence like? As far as what is it describing? Is that significant what it's describing? Because that might play into what the author's trying to get out of it. So shows appreciation by using diction, point of view, and structure to show compassion to the view that comes from the least likely areas. Remember, after this, you want to preview or review your main points again. Try to have each main point a sentence each. As the feelings of the main character shift, comma, so I think I got a mistake there. So too do the literary techniques used by the author, which I don't know if that's necessarily true. This is weak. Beauty can come from anywhere. Yuck. Nothing. No works cited page. So that counts against you too, so you're going to need that as well. So we got some work to do, brevan. We need to dig deeper. We need to have stronger organization and definitely some stronger analysis of this piece.